So the second part of your assignment this week for Mr. Ramey's class is to do the reading on Nikita Khrushchev and to watch President Kennedy's speech, which is on the YouTube link. So I'll go through and read the speech for you, and then when you're done, you'll answer the questions. This is the speech to the RFSR Teachers Congress on Cuba, Moscow, July 9th, 1960. A few days ago, the governor of New York State, Rockefeller, openly called for struggle against the government of Cuba and the Cuban people. He advised that a course directed against Cuba should be taken and that the regime chosen by the people should be stifled through economic blockade. Rockefeller's decrees are an obvious example of the aggressive actions of American politicians who are not accustomed to taking the will of the people into account. But the time when the United States command prevailed is over. The Soviet Union is raising its voice on behalf of and is offering help to the people of Cuba who are fighting for their independence. The times are not now the same as they were when the only working class, the working people of the former Tsarist Russia, was raising the banner of struggle, when not only economic blockade, but also armed intervention was organized against us. Times are quite different now. Over 1,000 million people live in the states where the working class and the working people have triumphed and where the glorious banner of Marxism Leninism is flying. The world socialist camp is now stronger than ever before. The peoples of the socialist countries will help their Cuban brothers to uphold their independence with the object of frustrating the economic blockade the United States of America has just declared against Cuba. And not only we, the people of the socialist camp, but the people of all the countries must be vigilant against the intrigues of American imperialists. It is clear to everybody that economic blockade by the American monopolists can be a prelude to intervention against Cuba. Therefore, we must speak up in defense of Cuba and give warning that the imperialists can no longer rob and divide the world as they please, each choosing any peace for himself, as they used to do in the past. Today, the peoples of the colonial and dependent countries rebel and fight successfully to rid themselves of the shameful colonial yoke and of enslavement by the United States imperialists. For our part, we shall do everything to support Cuba and her courageous people in the struggle for freedom and national independence, which they have won under the leadership of their national leader, Fidel Castro. The socialist states and all the people who stand for peace will support the Cuban people in their just struggle, and no one will succeed in enslaving the Cubans. It should be borne in the mind that the United States is not now at such an inaccessible distance from the Soviet Union as formerly. Figuratively speaking, if need be, Soviet artillerymen can support the Cuban people with their rocket fire, should the aggressive forces in the Pentagon dare to start intervention against Cuba. And the Pentagon would be well advised not to forget that, as has been shown by the latest tests. We have rockets which land accurately in predetermined square targets 13,000 kilometers away, about 8,000 miles away. This, if you wish, is a warning to those who might like to solve the international problems by force and riot by reason. So, questions to go along with this speech. 1. How is the tone between Khrushchev and President Kennedy similar? How is it different? 2. What is the message that each of these world leaders is trying to send to their people, to each other? 3. Why would each leader care so much about the island of Cuba? How is this a microcosm of the World War? So, microcosm, that means how is this sort of in its own little place, um, a smaller picture of the big picture of the Cold War. So, Cold War, Russia, United States, how is what's going on in Cuba sort of showing that struggle between the two countries? So, remember, you have to watch the video and do the reading in order to answer these questions. If you have any more, if you do have any questions about it, please email me or leave a comment in the help page, or you can pop into office hours on Thursday. Good luck.